There
There
we
we
go.
go.
There
Live.
we go. We is live. What's up? What's up, y'all? Thank y'all for joining us tonight on Radical Radio. It is a fabulous Monday, and we are coming to you live from our homes tonight.
That's right.
This is
Radical
your girl.
Radio
This is your girl, Coach L.
and your boy Nick Lotion, the co-hostess with the most, is here with my girl, Coach L. We ready to rock out on Radical Radio tonight. Monday, 8 p.m. It's Radical time.
It's that time, y'all. Thank y'all for joining us. We really appreciate it. Give us a second. We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna share this live. We hope that you share this live.
Yeah, do us a favor, hit share, send us some hearts, some love. You know,
Absolutely.
we gonna go deep tonight.
Yes, going pretty deep. What's up, Kendra? Thank you for joining us, sister. Thank you for joining us. And you guys know, as we start Radical Radio, we definitely want to thank you guys for joining us. You know, I have been under the weather, so I had to kind of take some days to get myself together. So I'm thankful that I received a negative COVID test.
It's always a good thing. Always a good thing.
Yes, that was nothing more than a blessing. But one thing I want to share with you guys is yesterday, Sunday, I had a amazing day. I had to make sure that I spent some time with my daddy. And I did, y'all. It was amazing. I was literally like around the crib, just like, doing my thing. But what really blessed me was I was having a conversation with my sister a few days prior, and we were just talking, about how it's so many things that are different as far as like people not understanding that, I could pray for you, but you could pray for yourself. If I can hear from God, you can hear from God. And it was just amazing because my pastor got up and he had a sermon. His sermon was entitled "Obedience is Better Than Sacrifice."
Right.
And for anybody that knows me, like, when I went through, a part of my process, one of the things that, one of the lessons that I believe that God took me through was how to be obedient.
Right.
And it's really not as easy as people make it. It's not as
Man,
easy as it sounds.
tell the
But when
truth.
you hear from God and you know that you hear from God, you can either act like you didn't hear him
Yeah.
or know that you heard him and do
Yeah.
what he told you to do.
Right.
Because there are blessings that are attached to your obedience. So when you are obedient, it's not like the blessings they may not come right then, but if you are obedient, understand that you've already won. If you did anything that God told you to do, you already won. Just wait because manifestation is on its way. So
Amen.
that was the highlight of my day yesterday. And, it just made me feel real good because I'm like, okay, so we ain't tripping. Like, we own to something right here. Like, we got this thing a little right
That's
now.
right.
So definitely, that was the highlight of my day. Lotion, what you do over the weekend? What's going on with you, bro?
Oh man, I had a pretty fun weekend myself, man. I got out this weekend, and that's not something that I do too often. If you know Lotion, like I'm a homebody. I ain't gonna sit here and act like I be kicking it. I really don't. But it was one of my really really good. Well, his birthday is next weekend, but we celebrated it this weekend. My boy Cliff, shout out to Cliff. That's my
Happy
boy.
birthday, Cliff.
Happy birthday, my boy Cliff. We've been friends for so long, man. I was sitting there going through my pictures, like looking at all me and Cliff adventures we done been on over the years. It's just a real good feeling to go out and like, celebrate another year of life. You know what I'm saying?
For
With your
sure.
with your real friend, with your real homies. You know what I mean?
For sure.
And we went out. We went to Rosemont and was kicking it out there. It was the most competitive birthday party I've ever been to in my life. All we did was we was playing games and just competing with each other the whole time, just going at it, talking crazy. It was a good time though. Like it was definitely I felt good afterwards, you know what I'm saying? That I had got to get out, have some fun, have some laughs, just loosen the noodle a little bit. You know how
There
we
you
like to
go.
keep the noodle loose around here. So shout out to my boy Cliff, man. You threw a great birthday party. It was awesome to be a part of that. I'm glad that I was there. And yeah, that definitely made my weekend special. So
That's dope. Good friends are hard to come by.
man,
came to a realization not too long ago, about a week or so, 2 weeks ago. I was talking, and it dawned on me that a lot of people want good friends,
Right.
but are you ready for good friends?
Ooh, that's a
That's a whole
conversation.
nother
That's a
discussion for another
conversation right
day.
there.
We're
I was
not
about to
gonna get
say,
Yeah, we're not gonna get into that tonight. But that's something that I would encourage y'all to think about. A lot of us want good friends, but are we ready for good friends? A
man,
lot of times we ask for things, but are we truly ready for what we're asking for? And like I said, that'll be a topic for another day.
good
But
topic though.
today,
Good topic.
definitely,
Somebody write that one down and say it
write
in
that one
somewhere.
down for
Hold that thought.
us. Today, we are going to definitely dive into domestic violence. As you guys know, October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. It is such a blessing. I make sure that every single year in October that I make sure that I, speak on domestic
Right.
violence as an advocate, as a survivor, as someone that is truly passionate about stopping domestic abuse. I definitely want to always make sure that I stand in, and in October, and not only in October, just around the year, but
Right. Right.
October is
Right.
special because it is the month that we bring awareness.
Yeah.
So with that being said, Lotion and I, we talked about it, and we decided that this was something that we both wanted to talk about. But seeing that I shared my testimony last year around this time, I wanted to give Lotion the opportunity to have the floor.
Yeah.
I wanted
Yeah.
to leave the ball in his court tonight and let him share. So I want y'all to, sit still, and we're gonna listen to Lotion. We're gonna, hear his story.
Y'all
And I'm
bear
gonna
with me.
Yeah, I'm gonna piggyback once he's done, and we're gonna talk about being in a situation of domestic abuse, also how it looks when you have left the abusive
Yeah.
relationship, what that looks like.
Yeah.
The healing process is definitely a process. Many people don't understand it, but I think that it is only fitting that we touch on how it looks for a male or a female that leaves a situation, how that looks for them.
Yeah.
So Lotion, we're gonna go ahead. Let's get it in. I'm gonna
Man,
go ahead
it's
and kick it off.
the kitchen is warm now, huh? We ready.
Yes,
Man,
it is.
first I'd just like to say, like the fact that we have all these, months and stuff like that, where we bring in awareness to things, like how we got like mental health awareness,
Right.
this is the domestic violence awareness, like in whatever, you know what I'm saying, like raising awareness to where like we really breaking that cycle of what happens at home stays at home. It's so many traumatic experiences and things that have so much effects on us and like weigh on us so heavy that we've
Right.
been taught so long to kind of keep swept up under the rug, right? And now we kind of in this swing of things where it's completely like 180, and now we sweeping things back from up under the rug and like talking about stuff that most people are like, I ain't gonna say most people, but like a majority, are uncomfortable speaking about. And domestic violence is definitely one of those topics. And
Yes.
leading into this conversation, like Coach said, we definitely were having our talks about, our topics and like what we will discuss on our show and all that. And it was like one of those things where like I had to really think about the male's perspective, and like, being a man and talking about domestic violence, you really don't hear too much of it.
Right.
You know what I mean? And a lot of the times the males are the aggressors, just to be completely honest. A lot of times females are the victims of domestic violence. There's not many times where a man is a victim of domestic violence. And I'm not claiming to be either side. You know what I'm saying? I'm definitely not innocent. And to be able to have this conversation, it means a lot because, like I said, men don't really get to talk about these types of things a lot. So from my
But
experience,
Ocean, before you go into it, I want to ask you a question.
okay,
Tavania, thank you for joining us. Um, why is it you made this decision? Like
yeah,
this was the
yeah,
decision that you made.
yeah.
and you stated like, I think I want to go ahead and I want to dive in this a lot more.
Right.
Why did you make the decision to have this conversation?
For one, it's something that like I've been carrying around with me, and I kind of just I'm over that kind of feeling that, like having that baggage, that burden, like of being like I really don't like that. Just because, just put it out there like this is just how I see it.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I'm a man, I'm a black man, I'm a big black man, so a lot of times I'm automatically wrote off as somebody that's like an aggressor, or like if anything was to happen, if I ever get in an altercation, no matter what I actually do, just by how I look and how I kind of carry myself, my demeanor, automatically labeled as like a villain or a monster.
Absolutely.
And I really like, and I know I'm not the only one, and I really feel like that is completely unfair, just being a person. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
And I just wanted to, like I said, release myself from that feeling of burden, and like having to carry around this feeling of like I'm a monster, I'm a bad person, and I'm
Right.
completely just human. You know what I mean?
Facts.
And we were having a conversation on the pre-show just a minute ago, just about, how we all do things that aren't right. You know what I'm saying? Not any of us are without, you know what I'm saying, fault.
Right.
And like we all are imperfect. And I'm not an abusive person. I'm not in a domestic violent relationship currently. I was in one for a long time. And it really is nice to be on the other side of that now. And not have that, like I had a pit in my stomach for years. Like I'm talking about, I actually had like a feeling that like a knot, like literally in my stomach, that I was just carrying around with because of having to be in constant conflict.
Right.
You know what I mean? And when I say like conflict, and I'm talking about like, of course, like me and my baby mama, like not trying to paint her as a bad person on here at all, not trying to bash anybody, but we had our spats. You know what I'm saying? We got into a lot of, not physical altercations, but we had a lot of conflict. You know what I'm saying? It just was a lot of drama, right? And like even going through that, and like going through therapy and just like learning and trying to go through the healing process, you really see how much effects these have on a person's like well-being. You know what I mean? Where like literally it will make you sick,
Right.
like physically sick. You know what I'm saying? Dealing with all these crazy experiences, and it's really not cool. You know what I mean? Nobody should have to feel like, man or woman. You know what I mean? Nobody should have to feel like that. It's not okay to just sit in it. Like it's not healthy, is what I'm saying. So yeah, I mean, I was in this relationship for about 10 years.
Okay.
And it wasn't crazy, like, it wasn't a lot of crazy conflict in the beginning, but I'm talking about like I was in high school. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking about 16, 17 years old. And I'm 29 now, so that was a few years ago, right?
Right.
And I mean, of course, we would get into the war words. I'm talking crazy, she talking crazy, we just going back and forth. I'm not really sure the first time that it became like a physical thing.
Okay.
I'm not 100% sure about the first time. I know that it was definitely when I was in high school though. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't remember what happened exactly the first time. But this went on for a really long time. And it got pretty bad. It definitely got pretty bad. To the point where I actually end up getting arrested because we got into a fight. She hit me, I hit her back, and I got arrested. And I ended up losing my opportunity to go to boot camp when I was supposed to go to boot camp at the time, because like I was about to really like ship off like the next day.
Wow.
And I couldn't. You know what I mean? Because I had got in trouble with the law. And you know what I mean? You got open cases, you really can't do nothing. Right. So that was something that was like, that's one time that's really prominent in my mind, because I remember like the ripple effect that it had afterwards. You know what I mean? And I said to myself then, like, that I was never going to put myself back in the situation to lose opportunity going forward, just to fight or just to, you know what I'm saying, be into it with somebody. But we still was in a relationship after that. So like that
let's stop right here. So after this occurred, after
Uh-huh.
the situation occurred, how did you guys handle the relationship to know that you were still going to be together? Like, was there a conversation between you two? How did that go?
Um, like I said, it was definitely a while ago. I'm not really sure how we reconciled it after that time,
Okay.
but I know it wasn't right away. You know what I'm saying? I'm pretty sure it was like some time that we spent apart for a little while.
Okay.
And like I don't remember exactly when we reconciled things, but we did end up getting back together. You know what
Okay.
I mean? And this was before my son was born.
Mm-hmm.
This is like I said, this is before I went to boot camp, so I wasn't
Right.
even in the army yet. And whatever we did, we decided, we was gonna get back together. Whatever. It was
And I'm
definite.
let me ask you one more question
Yeah,
because
yeah,
this stuff popping in my mind because I know from like a female's perspective
yeah.
if you get into it with your dude and your dude put his hands on you, right?
Right,
You may have somebody that know and they gonna tell you, girl, you need to leave him alone, right?
right.
Did you have anybody that knew that this happened that told you that you needed to leave her alone or no?
Um, Told me that I need to leave her alone. Probably,
Mm.
honestly, like probably had a couple people saying, like this ain't good. But man, you know how it is when you young and you think you in love. That's all I can
Mm-hmm.
say about
Yeah,
that. Like I ain't like
yeah,
I ain't perfect. Like, and you know what I
I
mean?
get it.
Like I don't know why I didn't decide at that time to just like leave it alone, but for
Mm-hmm.
whatever reason, you know what I'm saying, I did it, and we
Right.
kept things going. Like
Okay.
we got back together eventually.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, like I said, this went on for some years. You know what I'm saying? Where like we would all like it was a toxic relationship after a certain time,
Mm-hmm.
and um it got so bad to where I didn't even realize this until I had went to therapy after, like, like after we had really separated. But
Mm-hmm.
um like I would come home, you know what I'm saying, like, or I'd be on the way home, and like before I would be coming in the house, or like when I'm pulling up in the driveway, I would get this rush, like this feeling of like a hot flash almost, right?
Mm-hmm.
And at the time I thought it was just like nerves, and I didn't think nothing of it. Come to find out from my therapist that that's a release of a chemical called cortisol in your body, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And what it is your fight or flight emotions being activated. Like it's like adrenaline being sent all over because you're either getting ready to fight or run, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm talking about I was having this feeling
Wow.
daily. Like I'm talking every time I'm coming in the house, every like you know what I'm saying? Like, and the negative effect is that if this chemical is released and it's left dormant, and it just like it's in your body,
Mm-hmm.
it builds up and it causes anxiety in the long run. Had
Mm-hmm.
no idea about none of this.
Yeah.
That's what I was referring to as far as like having that feeling. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Where like this was literally causing me like problems. And
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea at the time. And like I said, this went on for years.
Yeah.
And I mean, even after my child was born, brought into the world, you know what I'm saying? Like we still be getting in these fights where the neighbors was calling the police. She was calling the police. I was calling the police. You know what I'm saying? Like constant just fighting. And like we just still together, right?
Mm-hmm.
Still together. And um 10 years, 10 years in this relationship. And out of those 10, at least 8 of them was complete just conflict the entire time. We would
Yeah.
have our good times, you know what I mean? Like we could go out in public and get along. We could go to church, we could go to, a barbecue, we could go out to eat, and we'll be fine. But like it was always lingering in there somewhere, just all, and it didn't take much. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? It didn't take
Yeah.
much for things to just go left real quick. And like I'm mad, she mad, and nobody trying to calm down. You know what I mean? Like, it really
Yeah.
taught me a lot as far as having the strength to try to walk away from an issue when it's like no resolving it.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely gained a lot as far as like just getting out of there. You know what I'm saying? Like leave it alone because it ain't going nowhere. And like I said, after that time I went to jail, I was done. I'm Nick Lotion ain't going to jail for nobody. Like,
Mm-hmm.
listen,
Yeah.
I ain't trying to be in nobody's cell for like the worst feeling in the world is having your freedom taken away from you, right? So I
Yeah.
wasn't trying to risk that. So I was doing everything that I could, even angry and upset, and you know what I'm saying, mad to avoid, getting to the point where somebody was going to jail. Didn't want that to happen.
Right.
And yeah, I really don't know why I decided to stay in it for so long, other than the fact that I was afraid of being by myself, or I didn't think that I could just function on my own. And the relationship ended up being the narcissistic and codependent relationship, which is something that goes on so often that people don't even realize that it's happening, or they don't even realize that they in a narcissistic, codependent type of relationship. Like, have no clue.
That mental health. That's it.
Listen, that's and like it. It's so much research out there on these topics. There's so much information that if you have no idea, please do yourself a favor, pick up your phone, start Googling stuff, like start looking into it, because you might be in one of these situations and really not even have a clue that that's what's going on, especially if you're on the codependent side of the relationship where you being controlled by the narcissist. And like dealing with somebody that's narcissistic is really difficult, because they play on your emotion and your soft side, and they kind of guilt you into staying in the situation with them. And no matter what you're gonna do, you're always gonna be painted as the person that's wrong, right? Like the narcissist likes to what you call that, coach? Throw the stone and hide your hand. Is that how you say it?
Throw the stone and hide your hand.
That's a narcissistic trait.
And a narcissist would tell you that you're the one that throws the rock and hides your hand. But in all actuality, it's them. So like a narcissist, they're never in the wrong. Like you will come to the position where you will apologize, even knowing that you may not be the wrong individual. You'll apologize just so you can kind of bring the peace.
Yeah,
but they will never apologize for what they've done. Never.
Right. And that's exactly how the dynamic of the relationship became. Like that was like it. No matter what I was doing, I was wrong. You know what I mean? And like me being who I am, I was always, all right, I'm sorry. Like, how can we fix this? And like, you know what I'm saying? I'm doing all the talking. It's kind of just like waiting for her to kind of calm down and come back and level with me. And then we would try to move forward, only to be right back in the situation all over again. And I got to be honest and say that if it wasn't for her being the person to step away from the relationship initially, I don't know if I would have.
Right.
You know, just being in that codependent role, because you don't feel like you become dependent on the narcissist. That's why it's called codependent. You know what I mean? Because you feel like you need that person. They make you feel powerless without them. So I had, like, at the time, you know what I'm saying, when I was going through this, I had no idea of any of this stuff. Like,
of course,
no idea of any of this stuff. Like I replay situations and stuff now. Like, I'll give you an example. Okay, recently, one of my friends came home. He don't live around here no more. But he came home and we was having this conversation about narcissists and codependence. And he actually recommended me this book that I'll go grab it in a second after we go a little further, whatever. And we was just having this conversation, and he was telling me how he had picked up on, you know, my relationship being like this far before I had even any idea of it. And he was talking about how he had never seen her be aggressive. Like every time he would see us together, she was always, oh, you know, nice, you know, like her normal self, pretty much. And then I guess we were all like, I had two of my friends in the car. He was one of them. He was in the back seat, and my other friend was in the front seat. And I got out the car, and me and Ashley was like outside, and like we was going at it. I guess, you know, she was swinging me around and we arguing, whatever. And she didn't have any idea that he was in the car, but because he was in the back seat, she only saw who was in the front. And they was talking while he was in the car. He's like, man, what's going on? He like, and my other friend tell him like, you know, this is kind of normal. This is kind of how it is. And I'm just like, and he's just like, wow, this is crazy. I've never seen the side of this person, whatever. And he's sitting there telling me all this stuff. And I'm sitting there thinking like, wow. And that's exactly how it works, where the person that's the narcissist is not going to come out and be that person in front of people.
Anybody else.
Yeah. Unless the person already knows.
Exactly. And it's crazy because I've been in that type of situation. Obviously, I can relate. Like it floods me with memories.
Right.
And it's crazy because it almost when you experience that, um, I used to like literally watch how you would turn into a whole different person around people. And it would just baffle me. And it would just like kind of put me in like a sort of like disbelief that
Yeah.
they don't even know you. Like they have
Yeah.
no idea who this person really is because they have a way to turn it on and turn it off.
Man, they slick, man. Like they
Yeah.
really
And
are.
it's really crazy. But that what I wanted to ask you, thank you for joining, Laskaya. Thank you for joining, John. If you guys don't mind to share the live, what I wanted to ask you was, how did you feel? Let's just use the example of, how you guys were outside of the car. How did you feel getting back in the car, knowing that that just happened,
Man,
and your friends were there?
Coach, I used to be so lost in these situations. Like, first of all, I'm not a violent person. Like, and like this is a huge deal for me. I meant to say this in the beginning. My mother was abused. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not trying to throw shade or not trying to bash nobody.
Right.
But my father and my mother was like my dad was abusive. My real father was abusive to my mother, and she would tell me these stories as a kid all the time. Right. And me as a person, I am not with the violence. Like it really freaks me out. You know what I'm saying? Like I really am not. It makes me so uncomfortable. I hate it. So I would be embarrassed. I would feel shamed. Like, you know what I mean? I like, and I didn't know how to handle it at all. Like I had no clue. And being a young adult at the time, not much life experience. It's my first real relationship I've ever been in. I had no clue how to handle it, and I didn't know who to turn to either.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, and then on top of that, you know how the stigma is, just around town. Like when you talking to the guys, oh, your girl, man, my girl be doing that too. It ain't no big deal. Or like, you know what I'm saying? Like people wouldn't really have no solid advice for you. Whereas like, just deal with it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just deal with it. It's like, it ain't no big deal. Like, and it was such a big deal. You know what I mean? To the point where like police was getting involved. Like with the police being involved, that's a big deal, right?
It is a very big deal.
And so many people, like I said in the beginning, is quick to just say, just sweep it under the rug. Like it's a normal part. Like, and it's a lot of people out here that might be listening to this right now, think that it's just okay as normal. And it is not at all.
It's definitely not.
It's bad. And it could get to the point where somebody could either really end up hurt, lose their life, be in somebody's jail. Like, ain't none of these options good options. You know what I'm saying? Like there's not necessarily a good way out of it if you stay there.
There's definitely not. And me and Lotion, we talk all the time, So, I know him very well. And when he says like he's not a violent person, when he says like he's learned how to like just move himself out of the way, I know this about him, and it just makes more sense to me why. And it's because of what he's endured and what he's gone through in this relationship, which was one of his first relationships.
Right.
The reason I can identify it is because I too, all the way from junior high through high school, I was in an abusive relationship. And your friends start to understand, like your friend said, it's just normal.
Man, listen, like it wasn't even a big deal no more. We're like, they just used to it. Like
they used to it. They know that y'all gonna go through this. They know that y'all gonna probably stay away from each other for a little bit, but y'all gonna come back. They then stop telling you things or saying
they don't
things
give you
to
no
you.
advice no more.
They don't want to
put their input in, nothing. Like they just let it be.
So what I believe that does, and a lot of times what we do when we're in that situation is we retreat and we end up being with them solely. Which makes it even worse because now we don't feel comfortable enough to go around friends or family because it always ends up where they're going to see us fighting or they're going to know that we're going through something. And it's crazy that the way that you're talking, I just can remember experiencing those types of things and always saying to myself, why? And
Right.
like you said, you don't even know why you stayed. A
Man,
lot of
listen.
times it is that narcissistic, codependent. It's the fact that you get used to it.
Yeah.
You get used to how to process it. You
Yep.
get used to how to deal with it. So I want to ask you this question. Did you ever think that you solely could change the situation by your actions?
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely felt like I could do something to fix it. Like
Mm,
and I don't know if that's just because that's the person that I am, where I always feel like I can help, I can change things, or if it's uh symptoms of like the narcissistic codependent relationship, where it's like you feel like as the codependent person, it is your job to try to, you know, repair it or mend it, or like because
clean
you
things.
always feel at fault. You
Yep.
always feel at fault. So it's like, okay, well, if I just stop doing whatever it is that I'm doing,
There
then
you
things
go.
would be different. And
There you
that's
go.
not the and that like listen, that was probably the hardest part to get over, where like I don't remember when I really like when my eyes opened and I realized that no matter what I was gonna do, that I was gonna be in the wrong. Like I don't remember when I came to that realization, but I could say that it was like like close to the end, like after the 10 years, like it definitely was like the end of the 10 years, you know what I mean? Where I finally was like, all right, you know what? It don't matter what I'm doing. But
Hmm.
the thing is, like, even now, like, and I hate it because of having a child, but me and my child's mother still don't really get along. Like
Hmm.
we you know what I'm saying? We are making progress, but we still don't really, you know what I'm saying? And like it's because of all this past experience and like the way that things are, where like I ain't even gonna lie to you, I'm afraid to be too open, because as soon as you give that person too much, it
Hmm.
suck you right back in, and then next thing you know, I'm texting mad, I'm arguing, I'm, you know what I'm saying, and then like all this stuff is just coming right back, and it's like that
Absolutely.
is not the way to go, you know what I'm
No.
saying? So you have to find a whole different way to try to navigate the relationship. But um you definitely feel like you could fix it, and I'm pretty sure that that's part of, you know, being a codependent person
Yes.
in it.
Yeah. It definitely is. You will have those experiences. So to encourage anybody out there, you really have to take a step back,
Yeah.
and you really have to do like some deep seated analyzation. Like you really got to analyze every single aspect of what you have endured and what you have gone through, when you are in these types of situations, so that can really be honest with yourself. A lot of the times, like what Lotion said, at a certain point, he figured it out. Like there's nothing that I could do
Yep.
that's going to make this any better, because
Oh,
we
that's what I
do
was gonna
that.
say. I
Go
got you.
ahead.
And the thing about this is, even with the narcissistic person, not saying necessarily that they're innocent, but the fact that they became a narcissist stems from something that happened to them,
Mm,
right?
mm.
Like, and like where I get that information, like this is the book that I was talking about. Hold on, let
What
me
is
make
the
sure.
name of it?
Facing
Facing Codependent.
Facing Codependency,
Okay.
by Pia Medley. I got it off Amazon, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
It's a great, this book is full of so much information. I still haven't finished it, because like it's one of them where it's like I need to put this down for a second,
Yeah.
because it's overwhelming, like and it's
Hmm.
a long, like it's a long book, it's full of vital information. But like
Hmm.
what I just said, as far as the narcissist being somebody that had experienced some kind of whatever in their usually in their childhood,
Hmm.
that kind of steers them towards being a narcissist. So it's not always necessarily their fault, but it is up to that person to do that, go through that healing process in order to become, you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
But yes, like doing the research and really like sitting there reading this book, the whole time I'm just sitting there like getting blown back in my seat, because I'm like, wow, I never understood it this way. Like I never thought that I could open a book and be reading stuff and then be able to relate to it, as far as like this narcissist codependent relationship. Never thought that I would read anything remotely like this that would relate to my life. And it was just amazing to me. And I'm sitting there reading and, you know, just like picking up all these facts and learning all this stuff and like really understanding that this is something that a lot of people are experiencing.
Yes.
Right. And that we don't even know it. Like I said, like you have no idea until you start doing research and reading and learning and, you know what I'm saying, expanding your thought and opening your mind to these ideas and thoughts. And
yeah,
like it's so real. And like, especially being a man, like this is something that was like super uncomfortable for me. You know what I mean? Like, how do you come out and say, you know what I'm saying, that you, I ain't gonna say that I was abused, but you know what I'm saying, I was in a domestic violent relationship and like I wasn't always the aggressor. But how do you like I said, no matter what, I'm always gonna be painted as the person that was like the aggressor because I'm a man. Like that's usually how it is in the situations. When you're the man, 9 times out of 10, they're gonna, you know, all right, you was wrong, whatever.
right,
You know how the saying goes, man should never put their hand on a woman, which I completely agree with.
right.
But like we always are put in that position. And it's a super uncomfortable place to be, especially when you somebody like I am, where like I said, I'm so against violence. My mom was like, and that was something that it really made me feel less of a person because of my experience with my mom and her telling me about how my father was, and me growing up just like trying so hard to like, I never want to go down that road. I never want to be in that situation. I don't want to be like my dad. You know what I mean? So it was super hard for me to deal with it, and to the point where like I said, I got my anxiety was through the roof, became depressed, like, and I had no idea how to get out of this. And thank God for, you know, good friends, like actual licensed therapists and therapy and groups and like all these things that helped me to go through the healing process.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's deep. And what you just said, I as soon as you showed the book,
Mm-hmm.
I I I could visualize you like reading this book and being like,
I'm telling you, coach, like I got some stuff underlined. I don't know how hit or miss it is, but like it's so overwhelming. The book is ridiculous. Like, and it gives you a headache. It's one of them where it's like
because it allows you to kind of, you know, relive some of the things
it,
that you've
it,
gone
it, it, it triggers stuff that you forget that even happened. You know what I'm
through.
saying? And you sitting there, you reevaluating certain situations, and like you thinking about things that happen, and like kind of putting yourself outside of it, and just
Mhm.
like, and then you start processing it, and it's just like, man,
Yeah.
I was so deep in this.
Yeah. And it's certain things like, even, you know, a lot of things, like you said, you can't remember. Reason being is because when you're in an abusive relationship, like there's a box that I always call it the block box. There's
Okay.
things that you put in the block box that you never really want to deal with. You don't want to recall. But I will say the healing process that you go through when you have to relive is the most powerful, is the
Man,
most powerful process of you overcoming being
man,
in an abusive relationship. Because, and I attribute this to God, I feel like at some point God has to remind you of things that you have endured, that you have gone through, so that you can understand how far he has brought you.
right, right.
Um, so there's things that you may have forgotten, or, you know, that you may have put in that block box that will eventually at some point later on down your you know, in your life, come up. And it's for a purpose. It's always for a purpose. And it's a purpose. The purpose is for you to truly heal from this thing.
Man, listen, and I mean, I love to shift into that part of the conversation, just talking about the healing process, because like for me, um, like I'm a lover. Just put it
Mm-hmm.
that way. I believe in love.
Mm-hmm.
I believe in being with that one person, that soulmate type of, you know what I'm saying, where it's like, this is the person I want to be with for the rest of my life. You know what I'm saying? I ain't looking outside of that. Like I believe in those things, those thoughts. You know what I'm saying? Like that ideology. And I knew that in order to get to that point, that I was gonna have to go through this.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like I knew that I was gonna have to, like I knew that I was gonna have to deal with the fact that I had been been a codependent person, or like I had been in an abusive relationship, or that, you know what I'm saying, I had all this unresolved turmoil, I guess, in my life. So I had to dive in. You know what I'm saying, head first, and like I said, I started learning stuff, started picking things up, and it definitely opened my eyes, but none of it was easy. You know what I mean? Like for a long time, I was just afraid of being around anybody. You know what I mean? Like I was just afraid of even if that person didn't even have, you know what I'm saying? I was just afraid to like mess something up. You know what I'm saying? With that stigma, that codependent feeling where you like constantly are in the wrong. You know what I'm saying? It took me a long time to understand and like this isn't a Nick problem necessarily.
Right. It's definitely not.
Right. Like this is something that I experienced with somebody, like, but I'm carrying it all with me now. And having to release all those things, and it's not easy, you know, like trying to forgive yourself. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like I let myself stay in this relationship for so long, like, and I kept myself, like, you know what I'm saying? We all have the power to leave. Even it's not that simple. It's definitely easier said than done, right? But at the end of the day, you know, everybody has that power to leave. Like that is your decision. You know what I mean? It's unfortunate when it becomes to the point where like you being abused and you can't leave, and that's the kind of relationship my mother had, where she ended up having to flee. I wasn't in that situation though, so what I'm saying is like I had to forgive myself for just keeping myself there for so long, knowing that it wasn't going to change. You know what I'm saying? Year after year after year after year, same thing, and I just stayed there, and it damaged me so much. But I was so motivated, like I said, by like just that love in my heart, knowing that I wanted to be happy like that one day, and eventually, you know what I'm saying, be with that one person. That kind of pushed me and motivated me to like, you know, like, Nick, you better than this. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, I had to completely heal myself from the inside out. That's when I started taking better care of me. You know what I mean? And not putting myself in situations that made me feel these things, or like if I was uncomfortable at all, then like even if I was friends with somebody, whatever, having to remove myself, or taking the power back to say no, or taking your power back to, you know, disconnect from people, or, you know, just making better decisions for like my own well-being. I know I don't talk about it a lot on the show, but my poster that I have that I always use, and like I use it in like a lot of the teachings that I've done, that's where that started. You know what I'm saying? Like I started writing stuff down on this poster, waking up, I put it right next to my bed, so that when I was waking up in the morning, that I was seeing these positive affirmations, and I had a bunch of positive reinforcement to say, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is not the end. This is something that you experience that you got to deal with though, but it's not over. You know what I'm saying? Like, you definitely can come up out of this. And looking back at it now, I'm definitely proud of like the strides that I made and pulling myself out of it. But man, it was not pretty.
And, you know, I wanted to touch on going back, you know, the trauma bond. This is what they call this, you know, they call it traumatic bonding. And just want to let you guys know, like, traumatic bonding occurs as a result of ongoing cycles of abuse in which the intermittent reinforcement of reward and punishment creates powerful emotional bonds that are resistant to change. So with that being said, a lot of people are so quick to say, leave. You should leave.
Right.
But there is something that kind of puts you in that position where it becomes very difficult for you to just pack up and leave. Now, there are some people that can just, you know, it happens sometimes, they pick up and they leave. All glory to God. You know, that's amazing. But there are certain mental aspects, certain aspects that kind of get you engaged in this tug of war situation where it's hard for you to leave. And with that being said, even with your mom, you know, I had to literally, I remember going through this abusive relationship and just going through years and years and years. And I used to say, how?
Right.
How am I accepting this? When I've never seen my parents fight? I've never seen my grandparents fight. I've never seen any of this, like in my, you know, immediate home. I've never seen this. How am I stuck in something like this? However, as I began to really like kind of dive in and ask questions and things like that, number one, I knew that I had saw abuse between family members happen. And then even though I didn't see my parents fighting, they were. So I always go back and I say, a lot of times you don't know that the seed has been sown, but
Yeah.
the seed was sown.
Mm-hmm.
Same situation, I had no idea, but there was a seed that was sown that even though I didn't have any idea about, it was attached to me.
Right.
It attached to me. So we have to be aware of what's going on, and it's powerful when you do, because like for you, you felt a way, like you felt probably as far as like knowing that your mom was in that situation, a disappointing, like that's
Yeah. Yeah.
disappointing that I have now put my
It
hands on somebody and
it
now I'm
made
with somebody.
it made all the things that like she was saying do to me. It made it so much realer because
Right,
I was disappointed in me too. You know what I'm
right,
saying?
yeah.
It killed my self-esteem.
Mhm.
That's really what it was. Like it killed. I had no esteem, like
And
none.
when you have no esteem, that's another factor
Yeah.
in a lot of why you stay.
Yeah.
People don't
Exactly. Exactly.
like if you don't have low, I mean, if you have low self-esteem and if you've been talked down to and always been made to be the person who's, been the problem,
Yep.
your self-esteem is definitely going
It's
to take a hit over and
nothing.
over and over
Yep.
again. So then, without having that self-confidence, that self-awareness, that self-love, it's easier for that narcissist to attach to you and link to
Yes.
you and
Yes.
keep you right there. Like it's like a grip that they
Man.
have on you. So you definitely gotta. That's why I say you have to really dig down deep internally and really take, some assessments of what's really happening here.
Right.
Because if you don't, then that's when you get in that grip, and that grip
Yeah.
is very hard to
It's
release.
really once you get so low, like especially when you get to the point where like you ran out of self-esteem and you not like caring for yourself like you should,
Yeah,
is it's a bad place to be. And like
absolutely.
to pull yourself out on your own is even harder at that point. Because like what do you got to, you know what I'm saying? You have no foundation in, you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah,
you kind of just flapping at that point.
yeah,
And listen, like for anybody that may be out there that's dealing with something like that, like listen, if you feel like you're in a situation where like no matter how hard you trying,
mhm,
no matter what you do, you know what I mean? No matter like if you say, all right, today I ain't gonna do nothing wrong, I ain't whatever, and this person is still making you out to be that, like you really need to think about these things, like and start thinking about how you could get yourself out of it and just get yourself away from it because it's so unhealthy. And like I said, there's no good way out if you stay in. Like, and it's gonna only get worse.
yep.
You know what I mean? It's not one of them things that's gonna heal on its own. Like praying about it and just praying about it is
That's
not
not
the
enough.
answer. Like you have to do something for your own well-being. Like, and that's what I'm saying. Where like you don't want to end up hurt, you don't want to end up in jail, you don't want to end up in trouble. You know what I mean? Like you got to find a way out, and it's not easy. It's
Yeah.
definitely easier said than done.
And the psychological disadvantages of it, we've seen it all so many times. You've seen, situations where the abuser has, you know, um, hurt or killed, it's their abuser, or vice versa. They're
Yeah.
tired of getting, abused. So then they decide to, out of fear, protect themselves and they do
Right.
something.
Right.
Not only that, I'm gonna tell y'all something, and thank you for that, Jay. Jay says when you ignore wrongdoings towards others, you desensitize yourself. This includes watching abuse and racial wrongdoings. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us, Jay. Thank you for joining us, Autumn and Joe. Thank you for joining us. I know that I haven't hit you guys right when you come in, but I apologize. It's a
We
kind
was
of
in
deep
deep.
discussion. But thank you so much for joining us. If you don't mind sharing the live. One thing I will, just in talking about, and as we kind of go into the healing process, when you think about the the psychological things, there were times where I literally would think about, and you could, I mean, I have staple marks here. I have marks on my arms like that will never leave my body. They'll
Yeah.
always be there. So as I
Right.
look at myself sometimes, I can remember being in this place. But what I will say too is the psychological issues that you go through once you decide that enough is enough. One thing that I used to think about over and over and over, and this was getting closer to the time where I was like, I'm done. And let me say this before I tell you, it was so funny because you would think that I was in an abusive relationship 12 years. You would think that it would be something massive happen in order for you to leave. I'm going to be honest with y'all. I had talked to myself about what I deserved, that I didn't deserve this, that I deserved better. I had these many conversations with myself so many times. It didn't take anything for me to leave. It was simply my car broke down. He didn't have the finances to help me. And I was like, get out. It was no fight. It was no argument. It was nothing. It was just simple as that. I had enough and I was just like, go. So with that being said, another thing that kept replaying in my mind over and over again, knowing that I had all these marks and scars and, I don't even have a nerve in my middle finger because my nerves were shot from us fighting. This is how bad it was, right? Yeah. I used to think about it. When he hit me in my head and I had to have staples, this is my head area. I could have been gone in an instant.
Right.
I started thinking about if he hit me and I hit a corner of the table, or if he hit me and I hit the floor hard enough.
The slightest wrong
move. Slightest thing.
That's all it takes.
Me out. And that's what I had to keep replaying in my mind over and over again in order to get myself to the place of being even the slightest bit strong enough to say, I'm going to leave, right? Yeah. So even when I decided that I was done, there was still some times that I would almost slip back into the situation. And like Nick said, thank God that once I decided to call it quits, he was being more of a jerk, concerning the kids and helping me with the kids. So he actually helped me in a lot of different ways, because had he, put on the charm that he normally would have put on,
right,
instead of being so angry that I called it quits, he probably could have snatched me back in.
Right.
He was angry because he couldn't believe that I, had finally said get out or what have you. But when I tell y'all this healing process that I talk about, many of us that are survivors can easily tell you that, I know for me, I ran.
Yeah.
I literally ran from Illinois. And this is why I moved to Atlanta, because after the last time that he hit me, this is when I got hit in the head. I had filed charges. I went to court when they had him locked up. I had filed charges because there had been so many times that I would call the police and then I wouldn't show up to court. And then I would tell them nothing happened and I would lie for him and I would do all this stuff, right? So this time I'm like, okay, I'm going to file charges. And I went in the courtroom when he went to court, and I kid you not, the judge read off so many charges. And it was domestic, his name versus my name. Domestic, his name versus my name.
Right.
His name. Just kept reading. And it felt like that judge was reading for forever.
Right.
And the crazy thing is, that's what triggered me. Mm-hmm. That triggered me. I was like, I have called the police on this man so many times. We have been in so many disputes. I was like, this is I gotta stay away. I gotta leave this. And for a long time, I felt like, okay, I left. I wanted him to be a father to his children, but I didn't want him to, I didn't want to be in a relationship with him.
Right.
So what I did was I felt like I had to remove myself. So I removed myself. I had to break away from his family. I had to break away from his cousins, who I had, now my cousins. I was very close to his mom. I was very close to his sister. And I had to remove myself completely. And it was difficult for me to do that, but it was necessary for me to do that. I felt like his mom, she didn't understand because I had stopped bringing the kids by, and I would go there for holidays, and I just couldn't. There was nothing that would have been beneficial for me to stay connected. And that was my way of removing myself, pulling myself away. So then, even after, he was in another relationship. This is when, the situation happened when the judge was reading off, the charges and all that stuff. It dawned on me that I couldn't stand the fact that I would be in the same town as him. And it was possible that if I went to the gas station, I would run into him. If I went to the movies, I may run into him. Like, I could not fathom that, because I just couldn't. It was nothing that I could deal with. So I decided, like, yeah, I'm moving. I'm taking my kids and I'm going. It wasn't the very best decision that I made because my kids were still young. But I had to do that in order to kind of unlatch myself to all. To the point, like, I could ride down the street and I can see a spot where we didn't started fighting and gotten into it. So it's just like, this was too much. So when I left. I'm a believer of God. So I felt like, let me get my life together. Let me get myself back in order. And I did. But it was like, instead of me really healing and really dealing with everything that I had gone through, I just kind of put it in the block box. Put it in a block box. I'm in a new state. Don't nobody know me. I can live freely. I can, change my life around, all this good stuff. Ended up even moving on, to the relationship that I'm in with my husband. But I didn't deal with everything that I had endured. So in the healing process, until you literally take inventory of everything that you have been through and be truthful with yourself and know what you endured and know what you went through and know that it was traumatic and know that it was toxic and really be honest with yourself about what you just went through, you're not going to be fully healed. When you're still like, I used to like take him to child support court all the time, trying to get, him to take care of his kids. I was forcing him to take care of his kids because I still wasn't healed. I was angry by this time. Now I'm mad and I'm just trying to make your life a living hell. You made my life a living hell. So I wasn't completely healed. Moving on in another relationship does not mean that you are healed. So here I am in my mind saying, I'm healed from this, whatever, I don't need nothing. I don't got to be bothered with him. I'm done. I'm in another state, yada, yada, yada. I finally understood that I really was not healed from this situation once I kept on talking about him, spewing hate about him. I used to get on Facebook and be like, oh, he don't take care of his kids. He's a deadbeat. Like, and I didn't realize just how broken I revealed myself to be. I revealed my brokenness in all of those posts and how I would just, like slander him and everything that I did. I did that because I was still broken. It was not until many, many years later that I realized that I still wasn't healed. My husband used to tell me, like, you're not over that. And I used to get angry, like, mad at him, like, what you mean I'm not over it, but I wasn't over it because I still had like all this bitterness and all this hurt to the point where I turned into an abuser. I turned into the abuser because I had so much hate in my heart for what I had endured. You couldn't tell me nothing. If I felt like you was trying to control me, it would be an argument. I mean, it just got to the point where my husband literally
started manifesting itself.
Yeah, my husband would literally, we'd be arguing and I'd be kicking doors in like I was Shiro and just craziness. Craziness.
Irrational as hell.
And because I was so hurt, so broken, didn't go get the help that I needed. So you definitely got to go get help. You definitely got to, like Nick said it in the beginning, prayer is not the key. You can't pray some of that stuff away. You cannot just pray some of that stuff away. You have to seek help because you have to identify those triggers because they are triggers. Whether you guys know it or not, when you are in an abusive relationship, it causes PTSD. It
Facts.
causes anxiety. It causes depression. It causes all these mental things going on from what you have endured. So I had PTSD. I could not, don't yell at me, don't scream at me,
Right, right.
don't play fight with me. All of
Man.
these things, like my husband really had to learn how to deal with me
Yeah.
because I couldn't do certain things. You know what I'm saying? So it used to become a conversation for me and my husband. He would tell me, like, I can't believe you let him do that to you.
Man.
And so I would have to explain to him, you're looking at the woman that I am now, but the woman that you see now is not the woman that I used to be when I was with him. I was extremely broken, very naive. You know, I wasn't this person. I have gained
Man.
strength in the years that I've been with you. But I can honestly say that I wasn't healed when I got with my husband. I was not. I was still very broken. And it takes a strong man to really deal with
Oh yeah.
a woman that is broken from abuse. It takes a strong person because as long as I continue to stay in that pattern of bitterness and brokenness, I couldn't even see him.
Yeah.
Anything that he did that triggered or made me feel like it was something that, my kid's father used to do, it would set me off. It would set me off, and it was very detrimental to our relationship.
Right.
So the healing is a process. It's a long process. And I want to tell you guys that it's a lifelong process, unfortunately. It's a lifelong process because I'll be honest and share this with you guys. Just a few weeks ago, first time I hadn't seen my kid's father in a long time, and there was an argument between my son and him, and I just sat there like a deer in headlights.
Right. Right. Like, what
And
do
I
I
just
do?
was like, we don't do this here.
Right.
You gotta go. Like
Right.
it was real quick. Like, oh, you gotta go because we don't do that. And it was right before my birthday. When I tell y'all, it completely disabled me to the point that
It's
I
crippling,
didn't even
man.
want to have my birthday party. I had
Right.
told people come and celebrate my birthday with me and all of that. And I was like, I don't want to have the party. I don't want to do nothing. I sat in my bed for a whole day and had to get myself together.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna tell you why I had to get myself together because I have been, I am healed from that situation. I have forgiven him. He has apologized. I've forgiven him. I have no hatred or this malice or anything in my heart for him. However, I got really upset with myself because I said he has taken so much from me already.
Mm-hmm.
And here I am 20 years later, still
Still.
allowing
Yeah.
him
Exactly.
to take something from me. So that was an eye opener for me because I said, never again. I
Yeah.
can't allow him to ever take anything else from me. I cannot allow him to put me in a space where I'm not able to move forward, where I'm crippled. Like
You
that
giving
literally
your
crippled.
power. You giving your power away when that happens.
Yes,
I said something today that was like right along those lines, and that's why I said it because I know we was having this conversation tonight, and I just like all these thoughts going through my mind and stuff today. Where I said you know I'm not trying to be who you want me to be. I just want to be myself, right? Because in the situations and you do give your power away, like you start to feel what people think about you is real. Or
yeah,
like if somebody is telling you that you're not you like if they taking all your esteem away by telling you a bad person, you this and that, whatever, you really start to feel those things and you start to accept it. And you
absolutely,
you start carrying it around with you, and then you start behaving like this. It starts
absolutely,
manifesting itself,
yeah,
like where it's like, well, I am this person, like, and
yep,
this, and it's just showing now, like it's
yeah.
all true, and you
You
have to
said
find a
this is
way,
me. I'm gonna show you this is me.
like you have to find a way to get that back, and not living up to nobody else's expectations. Like you don't need, like I said, you don't need anybody's permission to disappoint them,
Amen.
right? You need to make sure that you're taking care of yourself at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
You need to make sure that you're telling yourself good things about yourself. Ain't nobody on this planet perfect.
That's right.
We all are flawed as hell.
Mm-hmm.
Like, listen, ain't nobody out here perfect, right? But that does not give anybody the power or the grounds to sit there and tell you that you are a terrible person, and
Absolutely.
for you to sit and accept that and believe that.
Yeah.
Right? Nobody that loves you is going to do that to you. Believe that. Mm-hmm. Nobody that truly cares about your well-being is going to sit there and tear you down, right? And if you do disappoint them, that is okay.
Yeah.
It is okay. You're not living up to their expectations.
There you go.
You are not.
You have to get free from people. And if you are in an abusive relationship, you have to get free from that person. Get free from that person. So I want to tell you, Laskaya, it is possible.
Very.
You can remove yourself, but it's going to take your strength. It's going to take a lot of encouragement, a lot of support. It's going to take, I believe in therapy. I was in therapy. I needed that. I truly needed to go through the therapy to make myself understand that it wasn't me, because you go through so many years with someone telling you that it's all your fault.
Right.
So you have to unravel all that.
It's like untying a knot.
Yeah. Thinking that it's your fault. And so when you go through therapy, you're able to kind of dissect and peel back the layers and really make sure that, you are able to understand exactly what has happened to you, and this is something that goes on every single day,
man,
every single hour, every single minute. Right now, there is someone that is going through some form of abuse. And let's be honest, y'all, abuse is not only physical, it's mental, it's and that's emotional. There is spiritual abuse. There's people that will be in relationships where they're not able to be who they truly are. So it's a lot of different ways that a person can cripple you with abuse. So I encourage you, if you are in an abusive relationship, that you seek help, that you talk to your family. One thing that I can say is my family did tell me all the time, leave. But one thing that they never did is they never made me feel less than when I went back. Right. I want to, really give a huge shout out to my mom, my mom number 2. She knew exactly what I was going through because she had been in an abusive relationship herself. So she could, she pinpointed it. She knew what it was. She knew when my attitude had shifted, that, we were arguing. She knew everything. She never made me feel less than. She always was there right by my side anytime that I decided to say that I was leaving. Right. Even if I would go back, she never made me feel less than. And I'll be honest to say, don't ever feel like you can't go to your family or you can't be around the people that have supported you. Because when the last incident with my kid's father happened, I sat in my bed and I bled. And I was so ashamed, and I was so I just didn't want to tell them that it had happened one more time, even when we weren't together, because we were not together. So I sat in the bed and I didn't know what to do. And it took me literally a day to go finally and tell my parents that, he had put his hands on me again. So they opened their arms lovingly and still went through the process with me. So it was definitely, something that I was afraid to do. But I did. And one thing I can say, stop telling people you're going to leave.
Right.
Don't tell them. One thing I did was, when it was time for me to leave, when I wanted to leave, I had told my parents and told my friends so many times that I was leaving and I wasn't going back, and I went back, that the final time that I decided to leave, I didn't say nothing to nobody.
And that's it right there.
I needed them to understand that I did it without having to tell them that I did it. Because I felt like I used to tell people because I was trying to hype myself up and I was trying to give myself the strength. But I had to do that on my own. I had to do it solo. I didn't need to tell anybody that I was leaving. I just needed to leave. And
Man.
nobody can tell you to leave. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
as I coach, many young women and women that have been in abusive relationships, I can't tell you to leave, because I can tell you to leave, but that doesn't mean that you're ready. It has to be by your own choice and your own might that you walk away from an abusive relationship.
For real. For real.
You definitely got to pull from some very, very deep areas to make sure that you can walk away. It's extremely hard. It's not easy, but it is doable. And you just have to rely on what you have. If you don't have family that's supporting you, there are so many agencies. There's a safe place. There's
Right.
the Narcissistic Domestic Violence Center in Kenosha. There's so many just different places that you can reach out to, and do not be afraid. Get delivered from people. Don't worry about what people got to say. Worry about what you need to do for yourself.
Yeah.
Because if you
That's
are
more
in a
important.
relationship, at any time that you guys get to fighting, it could be the last time. So I encourage you guys, if you know of anyone that is in an abusive relationship or anyone that is going through it, that they leave, and that, if you need to reach out to me, reach out to me. Lotion, you need to reach out to Lotion. We are definitely here for you. I'm proud of you, bro, for sharing your story. I'm proud of you for letting that weight go. Freedom cost.
Yeah, definitely. I'm just happy to say that I'm at the point where I'm having this conversation, and that's the past, and I'm not still in that situation for my own well-being.
Yeah,
I'm really proud to be able to say that today. So
absolutely.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity.
Man, this is what we do. This is, I pray that everyone gets free. And, whether you were in an abusive relationship or not, whether it's just free from, generational curses, generational cycles, whether it's free from, the shackles and being a broken person, or being a, angry person, whatever it is that you need to get free from, what it is. And I pray that everyone gets free, because you cannot live life in bondage. You cannot live life with shackles. You cannot live life in a box. Living life is being free to be you. As we say, radical is being unapologetically bold and purposely authentic. So in order for you to, be your very best self, you must get free. So I thank you guys. Thank you for joining us
so
tonight.
Much.
Once again, it is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. So we will definitely come back with, more on domestic violence. Tune in next Monday at 8 p.m. We will be back then.
Thank you so much.